Welcome to Bleav In 76ers with your hosts, former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and two Sixers fanatics in Marcus and Teja Dash. Bleav In 76ers is presented by BetOnline.AG.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use promo code BLEAV for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bleav In 76ers podcast. I'm Marcus Dash here with legendary 76ers point guard Eric Snow and my brother, Teja Dash. Guys, 3-0 in this finals, and if the Celtics close it out tonight, we have, I guess, the unofficial start to free agency because teams can talk to their own free agents, so I guess it's an unofficial start to it if they win tonight. So I guess my opening question to you guys is, will the finals be over tonight, and will Sixers be able to talk to their guys around midnight tonight?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say the Mavericks win game 4, and we'll see if they can win game 5. But I'll say no.
Cool.
Okay.
I think it's over. I thought game 3 was going to be the one that they might steal, just like the energy even coming from home. I just feel like they're too defeated now, and Luka's kind of got, when he's down, he's kind of down type personality. So I don't know if that's the best guy you want with his back against the wall down with it. Like if Boston comes out early, it gets him down early in this game, or puts him down early, like they're up like 15 or 12 early on. I just think I think they're going to throw their hands up. It's like Dallas has got to have a lead in the first half. And they had a lead in the first half last time too, but we saw all that happen. But I think this game, more importantly, they have to have like a firm lead, or else it's going to be over.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I'm just
you're
giving them the benefit of the doubt. Say that they won't get closed out at home, but I've been there, so I know. I mean, I know how it can go, and how it's. And you're right. I mean, it kind of depends on how the game is going. I mean, I think the Mavericks are going to come out with great energy, and I always look at it from a standpoint of not just the energy being great. I expect that, but it's making shots, obviously, but it's getting stops. So sometimes when it's getting stops, you look at, like in this case, you would look at how Boston are missing their shots. Are they missing wide open shots? Are they missing, shots that everyone usually know they can convert? Or is it tough shots where they just, everything's contested, shot clock violations? If you kind of see that right there, then I'll feel like the Mavericks can win it. But if they're just coming out and then all of a sudden Boston is not shooting well, but the Mavericks are, those are the games that flip on you. And that's what happened in the game 3. Those are the games that flip. You all of a sudden you have a rough quarter, they're back in the game, and the pressure start coming. But I've seen it happen. I know it can happen. I'm just say that the Mavericks win.
Yeah. And apparently Scott Foster's the head ref tonight, and everyone says that's the playoff, that's the finals extender that they're the NBA's throwing at the this game tonight.
That's hilarious. No, I don't. I mean, I see all that stuff, and it's funny. I believe Scott is the highest rated referee. I believe he is, which means that he would be slated for game 4 and game 7. That's how you get him on game 7, is to put him in game 4. Because I think it's a 3-game rotation.
NBA definitely wants Dallas to take this series further. I think, yeah.
Always. Why wouldn't you?
NBA wants
the Mavericks do too.
Yeah, well, I know the Mavericks do, but at least they got the NBA on their side. That always helps. They don't want to be sweep.
Well, that's the thing when you see fans saying it's rigged for the Celtics. It's like, well, the NBA and the TV networks want this to go further than 4 games, so I don't think it's rigged for the
of course.
Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, you that's what 3 games income.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That you're eating. Of course, why would they? That's their business. Their business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, I would like to see it extended, but like competitive games, it's just I think the NBA got to stop stretching these games out so far. In my opinion, that's just
you mean like ruining 3 to 4 days in between?
How many days in between? It's just you ruin your enthusiasm. That's my opinion. I mean, other people may not feel the same, but to have a series that's quote unquote expected, if it went the distance, to be 17 days, that's
too much.
It's just too long, man.
It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
Hey, second place back in the Sixers. If we were to have gotten into the finals, these long rests definitely would have benefited Embiid in that knee of his. That's you would be happy with it if he got in.
I don't think so. I mean, if by the time you would have played that many games, like a day or so could help, but it's not curing an injury.
No,
it's not helping you rest your body. But whatever injury you have is still going to be there.
Yeah.
And as soon as you go out on that court, you will be reminded that it's still there.
Yeah. A quarter to turn into Jell-O. Yeah.
Now, I don't mind. I don't mind the long breaks when you change, locations. Like once you play at one place, it should never be more than every other day. But then once you go to a different, like you go from Boston to Dallas, and of course, you add some extra days.
Yeah. Yeah, it has been a long. The 3 days I thought was interesting.
2 days. 2 days max.
Yeah.
2 days max.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe tonight we'll be able to talk to some of our impending free agents. We're going to begin tonight with our conversation today on this episode about one of those free agents. So recently, Kyle Neubeck reported that there's mutual interest between the 76ers and Kyle Lowry about the 38-year-old returning next season. But, quote, the sticking point there will be probably come down to money and role. And I don't think that Kyle Lowry wants to be a minimum guy if I had to guess. This is according to Kyle Neubeck.
Who does?
Yeah. So are we interested in a reunion with Kyle Lowry, and what should Kyle's role be with the team if he does come back?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, I understand what Kyle not wanting to be a minimum player. I mean, he played, last year better than a minimum player, obviously from his perspective. But my thing is the role. I mean, I think that's hard to determine because we don't know what the roster is going to look like. So I think you have to kind of determine your team and determine how, your plans, A, B, and C, or whatever you got planned. And this, free agent and whomever or free agents that we may sign in addition to our players, I don't think you can make that commitment until you know what that looks like. And he may have to be a minimum player if, you're using your cap in different ways. But having him back definitely would help, in my opinion. I just don't think that them going in with him having a major role with if Melton and Maxey are there, and obviously you're going to sign some other guys. I would love to have him, but I just think that in taking up cap space, I need to see the roster first in order to make that decision. Because the reason why is because we still have to. It's a plan going forward. Whatever we're doing is obviously to take us through Joel or whatever's free agency until his free agency. So It's not a 1 year deal, so it's his time frame. So everything has to be on that time frame. If it's a guy that's just a 1 year deal, then 1 year deals, in my opinion, can wait to see how this all plays out.
I mean, for an aging player like that who's approaching 40, I mean, he's got to know, like, he's not a 30-minute a game guy, right? So, like, that's just, you could be, but your knees and your limbs, your joints will be mush by the playoffs. So, like, if you want to join like a contending squad who's going to be playing hopefully 17-day final schedules in June, you got to have somewhat of a more limited role. I mean, you can't. We played him a lot, especially in the playoffs. So, I would hope he'd be okay with knowingly a lesser role in that. I mean, they're obviously going to talk to him about this.
Yeah.
And they're not going to have a filled out roster yet. So it's going to have to be a hypothetical conversation of, hey, this is what we envision going into next year. You know, personally, I'd like him to be a, 15, 20 minute a game guy. Don't overwork him during the regular season. What's the point? Be our backup point guard. Is he fine with that? Is that a role he's interested in? I don't know. Does he still want to be a 25 to 30 minute a game nightly guy until he retires? Maybe. I would hope he'd rather be a 15 to 20 minute a game guy on a contender that might go far into the playoffs rather than a 25, 30 minute game guy on a not so good team. So it's all about what he's at this stage of his career is really comfortable with and what he's accepted as a player and what he's willing to give. And the money side, that's the thing. Like, you're having the conversation of, we envision you as a 15 to 20 minute game guy. We're not going to invest that. I don't know how much more we'll invest outside of the minimum for that, right? So that'll be, those two, role and money, will be hand in hand. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's also his hometown, so that hopefully that helps. It makes a difference.
Yeah, between hometown and relationship with Nurse, hopefully that helps as far as, with that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, last game he played in that last game against the Knicks, I mean, that was the Buddy Hield game. He only played 13 minutes in that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We needed an offensive boost, and he barely played that game. So, but every other game he played 25 plus minutes in that Knicks series.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess we'll wait and see on how what Maurice ultimate plan is with the roster.
Yeah, if Boston wins tonight, we'll know pretty damn soon, actually.
Yeah. So, last few episodes we've kind of talked about the bigger names, the big three types of guys, and in the free agency and potential trades. So with this episode, I want to kind of talk about the next tier guys in case any of those big three guys don't come through, like the Paul Georges of the world. So first off, I want to talk about Miles Bridges. So there's been talk this week about whether the Sixers should be interested in Miles Bridges if we end up striking out any of the big fish. That's pretty split on that. Sixers Nation is kind of, it's one or the other. People just aren't not 100% sold on the move. But my question is, would you guys be in favor of taking a chance on Bridges and Miles Bridges, not Mikal Bridges? Obviously, we're all in on Mikal Bridges. But how would he fit with a Maxey and Embiid if we were going to start off with those three guys?
Me being a fellow Spartan, I would always take a fellow Spartan. But I mean, I think that if Miles is coming, you have to kind of see who he would come with. I think if you're getting Miles, you have to bring in another piece with him to complement you taking that next step. I think he's the guy that can help. He can shoot a three. He can be athletic, played 3 and 4. So he fits from that perspective. I just think that with him, you would need more in order to take a step forward. And maybe that's a guard, another guard. But I do feel, or maybe it's 2 other guys. I think that Miles, I would take him, but I would take him. It would have to be a piece of, a few, a couple or a few guys in order to, improve our team.
Now, I have to ask the dreaded question because most of the should we sign, should we not sign controversy with him is off the court stuff, unfortunately. Does that hinder your interest at all? And would that also play a factor into what kind of contract he'd get as far as money and years?
I mean, I think it always goes into what kind of contract you can get, because the market is going to determine that. We have to decide, how long do you hold stuff, up to people? Like, what is the threshold for you saying he's this type of guy, or we shouldn't sign him because of what happened? Will it be different 2 years from now, or when is the threshold to be like we're gonna move on from it? So, I mean, if you feel the way you feel now, and you're not going to change, then I think he's going to be a guy that people are going to always feel the way they feel. Yeah. So I believe that in the guy in his situation, where you're always going to have sort of that cloud over you, I'm a firm believer that the Northeastern cities and teams are the best place for you, because the fans are passionate fans. Yes, they'll get on you, but they also appreciate when they see that you put in work. Yeah. So if you come there and you play hard, like you can eliminate, you can change the narrative a little bit. Like we bring up Spree. Going to New York was the best thing for his career. Going to New York City, because it allowed him to write things. And I think sometimes certain cities are made for that kind of turnaround for you. So I see Philly as that type of town where the narrative in Philly, when you go in Philly and you come to the Sixers, the narrative isn't going to be what you did. It's going to be, what are you doing now? Are you balling or not? Are you playing hard or not? Are you competing or not? And that's what it's going to be about. So I still see that it can work from that perspective. But yeah, of course, it also always plays into negotiations. But at the end of the day, the negotiations also comes down to what other market is offering him, and are we willing to beat it?
Yeah. I mean, there is a lot of controversy on this, and people are either just throwing them off their board and saying nope, or they're willing. Yeah. So there's no middle, right? There's no let's see. There's no let's see what the contract is for most people. It's either absolutely not, or yeah. I'm in the range. Yeah. I just think there's risk with. Look, if he's allowed to play, he's allowed to play, right? So it's like how are people worried about the perception of signing him because he's allowed and he's not out of the league. You're not signing someone who's banned.
That's the point I'm trying to say. Like his penalty's been served.
Yeah, he's here. So it's like
you may not like it, but his penalty's been served.
Yeah, so you don't worry about the perception, or you worry about the risk of him maybe doing something again. And to my counter to that is, we're talking about signing 35 and 37-year-olds and 38-year-olds to contracts. You want to talk about risk? So whether it's injury risk or he might mess up off the court risk and then not play for a long time, we're in the risky business right now, sounds like, between Butler's, the Georges, LeBron's age, Lowry's age even. So we're making risks right now, whether it's because of a guy's injury past or it's because of his checkered past. So I'm not going to let that stand in the way. Now, will that change the contract for him? Do you have clauses in there to say that if he gets in trouble, I'm all for that. I'm cool with that. That's fine. So you take measures to make sure that you don't get screwed if he gets in trouble again. I don't know him personally. I'm not going to pretend to know him personally. I don't know if he will again. I know that after his suspension incident, he had a weird incident with kicking a car, kicking a tire, and no charges were filed. But people were like, well, if your career is almost on the line and you do something like that, then what does that say? Is he still, was he right yet? So I don't know. He didn't get charged. So there's no league action on it, so he's still allowed to play basketball, and he's allowed to play basketball for any team. As far as on the court, I mean, he checks a lot of boxes. Is he a knockdown three-point shooter? No, but the last 3 years he's shot he's like 35, almost 36%. Definitely good enough on 6 shots a game. That's pretty good. Last 2 seasons, he's averaging like 21 and 7. Again, I would gladly take that. Is it on a not so great team? Sure. But like what we took Oubre from a not so great team, and he gelled pretty well with this team, right? I think this is kind of like
I'll give you this scenario. So if he comes to us, and what else do you think he would need if he essentially played the way PJ Washington has played for the Mavericks this playoffs?
What else do you think we would need as a team?
Yes, like what else? Like if that's what Miles Bridges brought to the table, because I think they're very similar. PJ's a little taller, but they're very similar.
Yeah. Well, he's not shooting 18 shots a game with us. That's not happening. So we can forget that right now.
No, I'm just saying. Like, no, what I'm saying is in the playoffs he could. You can get like that in the playoffs. But what is it that what are you thinking?
Well, the beauty of Bridges
what else do you think that? I'm just saying, like, if that's his role and it's going to be with us, that's how you have to view him with Maxey and Joel. Like, what else is he really going to really do? He's not an ISO guy. He's not a Brandon Ingram or a Paul George. He's not that type of free agent. So yeah, that's sort of how his role is going to look for us. So yeah, what else do we need in addition to that? That may ease the kind of the thought process of bringing him in.
Oh, and I think the beauty of signing him is that I don't think his contract's going to be bloated, nowhere near the other guys we're talking about. I think he'll be, by a lot of the projections I've seen, mid-20s per year. And if you get him for mid-20s, if you get him at like 25 a year, let's say a 2-year deal, 2-year $50 million, 3 years $75 or something, you're talking about still having $40 million to spend. You can still go out and trade for not the top tier, but like the next tier down, which I think we're about to get to anyway, so it's a good segue. You can maybe get 2 of those guys. So you'd have the kind of roster that Joel's been saying he wants, like a Denver Nuggets type team. If you start with the Bridges, who can kind of be your kind of Aaron Gordon-ish, right?
Yes. Yes.
I think that's a good comp, pretty good comp for him. Yes. He's only 25, so it's not like he's not done progressing. He's missed a whole year and he's still 25. I think he can still progress to be even better defender with a Nick Nurse that likes to play defense. I think you go out and you can still look for you can sign KCP to be your KCP, and you can still find your MPJ to be your 4, and he can be your 3. So you can really, if you want to go hey, we struck out on Butler, we struck out on George, we struck out on the big fish, let's build our balanced roster. Bridges would be a good guy to do that with, because he will allow you to still spend some pretty good money on your surrounding pieces and have a good bench after that. So that's what I would do. You said, what would you do around him if you did go Bridges? I would just go that route. I'm not going to say, say a type. Say like sign KCP to be your 2, and you sign like a Kuzma to be your 4. Just an example. That's a very, very Denver-ish team. Maxey, KCP,
and that's a team that can win the championship.
Bridges, Kuzma, and Embiid. Balanced. Yeah. Other guys who can go off for like 25, 30 points in a game if your guys aren't available or they're not hitting it that night. And a bench. And you'll still have a bench. So it'd be better than like Denver.
That's a team that can win the championship.
Yeah. Denver's kept that team together, and they don't have a bench anymore. That's part of their problem, because they've spent so much money keeping those guys together at this point. They're going to have to keep doing it too. So yeah, I'm in favor of that. I would love that.
Now I know, obviously, in this day and age, positionless basketball, but is he more of a 3 or 4 to you, Eric? or does it depend on who the other guys we sign, and that would make up his where he'd be?
I would say more 4-3 instead of 3-4.
Okay.
So you'd probably want to get like a guy who can kind of be interchangeable with him at 3-4, depending on who you're playing, right? Yeah.
More offensive minded. Yeah. Kuzma would be that's a perfect example, yes.
Kuzma, or another guy I had on this list of guys, a Jeremy Grant, right? Is that another guy you'd say could probably play with the Bridges? Because Bridges is a good rebounder. Jeremy Grant's not a great rebounder. So you have that balance there, right? So those are the kind of guys. And Avia from the Wizards, another guy who could do that too. Cam Johnson, another guy. I would say that kind of thing. Dorian Finney-Smith, another guy who can kind of fit that.
Yeah. Cam Johnson fits a little more.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I get what you're saying.
And all those guys you just mentioned are trade pieces, right?
Those are all my trade list is all those. Yeah. So Kuzma, Jeremy Grant. If you want to go guard, I'd say like Murray, Bogdanovich would be like the 2-3. Obviously, I've said a million times Caruso, Finney-Smith, Cam Johnson, Kispert, who could play 3. His contract's very favorable. I think he's making 5 and 6 the next couple of years. I would love that. Just like winning type players, I think that, they're not winning on their teams, but it's not their fault. But I think, you need those. We need more of those guys on our roster, right? Those are all. Free agency would be more of I listed the Bridges, KCP, Klay Thompson, who if you signed a Bridges type guy, you don't get KCP. Klay Thompson would be a guy to put on that kind of team, right? And then Bruce Brown, Beasley, Gary Trent, Gary Harris, Caleb Martin. Those are all the guys I listed for signing players.
Well, you mentioned Klay Thompson. That's where we're going with our next topic here. So, as you said, Klay Thompson. That's another name along the lines of every other guy that we have apparent interest in is Klay Thompson. And recently, Anthony Slater of The Athletic reported, quote, Klay Thompson wants to win. Don't expect him to chase the largest possible offer from the Detroit Pistons or Charlotte Hornets, even if that's the correct financial or leverage move. But there are plenty of cap space teams with a clearer upward path to contention than the Warriors. That includes the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Orlando Magic. So what do you guys think about Klay Thompson? Klay Thompson on a 1+1 deal if we do strike out with the other big names out there.
I mean, I would always take a Klay Thompson. I don't think he would come to Philly, but I would. You can take him in 1 year and deal, and the way he shoots the ball, and he was always a threat to shoot it. Definitely, definitely has an interest. I have an interest. I just don't think he would come to Philly. I mean, he's a California guy, played on the coast, West Coast, so I don't see it. I'm not even getting my hopes up with that.
I'd see like a signing trade.
I would say he would just re-sign before he does that.
Yeah, especially if he's taking less.
Yeah, go somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Somewhere in LA or like somewhere. I just can't see it.
Yeah, I would think that's more likely. I think again with the Bridges type team, I think he'd be a great 2-guard with Maxey, with the Bridges, with Embiid. Yeah. If you want to balance again, we're talking about like a Denver Nuggets type team. I think he would go really good with that kind of squad.
Yeah. I agree.
But yeah.
Klay Thompson, he just released a video on I guess his Instagram of him working out, and he's looking great, as everyone does in the offseason in their workout videos. He's knocking them down. He's looking good in his summer workout. So up in that value for free agency.
Yeah,
got to hand it to him.
It's a cool report to come out. I mean, I like that he's not just chasing money; he wants to actually win. That's maybe like a message to the Warriors to say, hey, I'm not trying to break the bank. Just give me like a decent contract and I'll stick around for a couple more years and retire with our guys, So like that, maybe that's a statement to them. Before we move on, I want to go back. One last thing we can talk about, because we talked a lot about Markkanen as an option. He's been in that tier we talked about a lot as a good like stretch 4.
Yeah.
Do you think Cat would work with Embiid, Eric?
I do. But I think you need
because if marketing can, why can't
kind of yeah, I think Cat can the way he shoots the ball. Defensively, he played much better in the in the playoffs than people gave him credit for. I think he can. You got to kind of decide how you want your 2 and 3 to look beside them. But I think he can.
I mean, if we're talking about a lot of people will say we should prioritize a guy who can play stretch 4 and shoot the ball next to Embiid and a guy who can play center when Embiid's out. Shouldn't Cat be like top 5 trade targets based on that? I mean, he is that.
He's arguably number 1, arguably.
Yeah.
For that, for what you said, yes.
Because let's say we had a team. Let's say it was Cat instead of Tobias. Let's say Embiid's knee flared up. You could win a game with Cat as your 5 and feel if you have decent depth the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean that's that's the thing about it. It's sort of like the Al Horford experience. And
yes,
would it be the Al Horford experience or will it be better? You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like how you have to consider it.
Yeah. Well, he loves shooting the 3 more than Al. So I think we would embrace that part of him and be like,
and he shoots it better. I think it can work. I think it can work. But I would do want to see how the other pieces would look in addition to that. So I still think you need some length at the 3, the length and versatility at the 3. And either 2, unless you put Maxey at the 2. You kind of need to, because McDaniels is a good fit with Cat in Minnesota.
Yes.
So you need something similar to that.
Yeah. That is definitely true. You would need to go more just 3-and-D wings, long, versatile wings. You can, that's when you still maybe even go after a Caruso type to play with Maxey, who can guard, get down, play the 2, play the 3 as far as on defense. And you need like a versatile 3, for sure there. Yeah, I think it would work.
Would Bridges be a good fit? Miles Bridges be a good fit with Cat at 4 and him at 3?
I would. That doesn't really. I don't want. I think Miles being a full-time 3 is not necessarily his best strength. I think he needs to be 4-3 more than 3-4.
Yeah,
I know he probably don't want me to. I probably know he probably feels differently, because I know for a fact at Michigan State that was an issue. He wanted to be more of a 3 than a 4.
Okay.
I just think that I think he has an advantage when he's at the 4 more than at the 3. Unless the 3-4 is interchangeable, you kind of play them the same way. It really doesn't matter.
So
you know what I'm saying? If he goes to Phoenix and plays with KD, it doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? He's 3 or 4. He's going to guard the best 3 or 4. He's going to play the same way because of who he's playing beside. So it kind of depends on if you're distinguishing a real difference between that in that position.
Yeah.
What do you think it would take to get Karl-Anthony Towns? Would his price point probably be more than Lauri Markkanen, or be about the same?
No. I don't think. I think it'd be less.
I can see Minnesota. I can see Minnesota making changes, and he would probably be the first guy that they would look to change. But I would think that they want. I would think it would have to be a 3-team trade. I don't think that it's a cap space, and we always have Tobias, who can be moved somewhere to help him.
He'd actually be a pretty good fit over there.
I believe. Oh no! I mean, Tobias. They may take a Tobias in Minnesota.
Yeah.
You can add another piece with him. So it can be done. I would say it's probably multi-team, but it can be done.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think that would be a good use to them in that deal because they can't. I mean, I don't think they'd have enough money to go out even if we did clear that money up for them. I don't think they really could go out and spend a lot of money anyway. So they would need to take back something in that deal to make it worth it for them and to keep contending. So, yeah, I mean, I think Tobias would be a great pickup for them. I think he'd fit pretty well with.
I mean, the reason why they can Minnesota can do something like that is because Naz Reid, the way he's played.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Naz Reid was a gem for them.
So you get a cheaper piece, you can do something different. So we'll see.
Yeah, they're gonna have to make tough decisions because their cap for next season as it stands right now is 193. So yeah, they got decisions.
Yeah, that's why I read that if they moved the ownership issue was the issue. The new ownership was supposedly going to move salary, and that was the guy that everyone was looking at. So
yeah,
until they kind of figure that out, we won't know how it's going to look.
Yeah, and I don't know what we're talking about as far as Tobias' contract. Who the hell knows at this point? But it'd be less than $49 million, so they would recoup, 20 some million, 25 million off that. That'd be something they might be interested in while staying competitive. And I think for us, I think it works. I mean, it's not conventional, and we kind of tried it already, but I think if you build the right team around it, and it would be a great way to keep Joel fresh. You wouldn't have to play Joel at center all the time. You could stagger his minutes. You could rest him more often. You could put Batum at 4 and then put Cat at 5 when Joel's out, and not really miss that much of a beat and still be a good team. Batum's the guy who can mesh with a lot of different lineups too, which I'd like. I'd really like him back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see Cat and Embiid have a history, have somewhat of a rivalry throughout the year. So it'd be interesting to see if how that would work. Embiid and Drummond had a little bit of a history before he came over, and they became friends quite after that. So, yeah. So last topic. So this is a Twitter trend last week. Ryen Russillo of The Ringer made some waves by kind of calling out Embiid, kind of dissing Embiid a little bit, leaving him out of his top 5 NBA players. And Embiid, even in the playoffs, when he's not playing, he's still catching strays from people. I don't really get it. But anyway, in his quote, he left Embiid off his top 5 because, quote, "I know the numbers are incredible, but I'm sick of seeing playoff games where I need him to figure out a way to unlock the possession and get him to his stuff on his own in a way I don't think he's capable of doing like the other guys are. Catch, late possession, dribble, bring a late double. In those possessions, Embiid is still dependent upon someone getting him where he needs to go to work from." Do you guys agree with this take on Embiid? And if not, how do you counter what he has to say about Embiid?
I mean, I think it's just a personal reach. Just how he feels. He just doesn't like Joel. I don't think it's not much substance into why he's not a top 5 player other than his personal grievance. That's a personal grievance. That's not to me, it's not proven that he's not his game and his numbers prove differently. But someone can say the same thing about any guy that you may have in the top 5. I don't like the way he does this or that. And it's not about, to start it by saying I know his numbers. That's telling you that it's not about his numbers. It's about I don't like the way he plays. So to me, it's just a personal dislike. And it's fine. He has his opinion. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, the other guys you listed, I don't remember you named him as Jokic, Luka, Giannis, and SGA were the other four. And then and he said like his fifth is not dedicated. It's not given to Embiid anymore. It used to be given to him, but it's like my counter. I'm not even going to defend Joel because it's ridiculous to have to even defend Joel after the stats he's been putting up. And I mean, two of the guys he mentioned are champions. Okay. But like, he's not talking about guys who I've seen hit a million buzzer beaters at the end of games. Like SGA's sample size, this is really his like one dominant year where Joel's had like what, 3 or 4 or 5 of those at this point. Giannis has never been a fade away at the buzzer guy. I wouldn't even say he's one of the more end of game clutch players out there. So that if that's his criteria for being top 5, that's stupid because I haven't.
I just don't understand how you can say a guy's just because how a guy's clutch and that determines what. Like I didn't really understand that part. Is like he has another guy to get him the basket. I mean, most bigger guys do. I mean, Joker does the same thing. I mean, Joel can bring the ball up and stop at the 3-point line and pass it and run a play, but he can do the same thing. So most, just like Giannis, can bring the ball up the court, and but it's style of play. It's the decision of the coach also to come in for why that happened. So those guys are different. Also, Joel is more dominant with his back to the basket, catching the ball 15 to 17 feet away than those guys. Giannis is, scores the way he scores, and Joker scores the way he scores. So, like I said before, even in conversation, it's proven to me it's just a personal preference, and I'm fine with that. Like I said, I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, some of it's just weird because I mean, if you're going to go by clutch and end of game, who I want the ball in their hands, like I wouldn't, I haven't seen it from some of these guys. I put Butler over some of these guys. It doesn't mean Butler's a top 4 player in the league. It just means he excels at that more than he's been in that situation more than other guys have. I haven't really seen it from these guys. Yeah, I've seen Luka hit.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. What is the conversation? So it seems like we're talking about two different things. Are we talking about a top 5 player, or are we talking about a top 5 finisher? Because we're trying to kind of mix the two. That's a different top conversation.
I guess in his
mind, he may not be a top 5 finisher.
Yeah,
but I'm saying he may not be a top 5 finisher. I mean, it was a time when LeBron James, people were out here saying he wasn't a great finisher.
True.
He was the best in the league.
True. Yeah,
so that's what I'm saying.
True.
Like it seems like we're talking about two different things here.
Yeah. I'd say Durant is one of the top 5 closers, but he didn't list him in that top 5 list, right? So it's like, so why didn't that give him the edge, right? I guess he's saying these other guys are close to Joel as a player.
That's what I'm saying. It's just I'm not in his mind, and I'm not really trying to be, but I'm just saying, I just think that it's a personal preference of how Joel plays, and he's just not a fan of it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Move on from it.
Yeah. I saw Colin Coward commented on this quote, and he said that he's out on Embiid. He says he's on his top 5 because it's the regular season plays its own thing, but when it gets to playoffs, that regular season play doesn't really hold up in the playoffs. Injuries and whatnot, but he's considering that now when talking about him as not being a top 5 guy.
That's what I'm saying. It's all agenda. It's if you add agendas and you add, like what is it that we're talking about? It may change. But if you're saying, hey, yes, he's this, but if I add the playoffs, then he's not. Of course. I'm saying you can add all kinds of things and it'll change for a lot of guys. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
Giannis has been hurt a lot in the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah.
He just has a championship. So I get it, but like I said, if you change the narrative or you change the conversation or the agenda of what it is you're talking about, then I get it. I get what you're saying because you're changing the agenda to fit whatever it is you're saying. So the reason why you say that is because you know how dominant he's been in the regular season. So I have to add the playoffs in order to my point to be relevant. Yeah. Because it's not really relevant if you're just talking about the regular season. So yeah, I get it. I get it if you're saying all that.
And obviously, I'm not happy with Joel's playoffs and our playoffs and with Joel. I'm not happy with what's been going on. But this is the wrong year to say that. I think this is his best playoff performance of his career. So this is the year that you're out because of his playoff. Like
no, I don't necessarily think it's the wrong year. I don't think it's the wrong year to say it. I just think it's I don't think it's the wrong year to say it. I think it's an accumulation of all the years before. So it's an accumulation of all the years. So until it changes, this is always going to be a topic.
Yeah. I hear that part.
So if it continues next year, you have more people jump on board.
Yeah. His injury didn't limit him. He still killed it. We didn't go further. I wouldn't necessarily put that on him. I mean, we said all season that this wasn't the team to go far into the playoffs.
But everything it is going to fall. It is unfortunately going to fall on him.
Yeah,
because
he's the quarterback.
The one thing that's been consistent with the Sixers playoffs is not getting past the second round and Joel having some form of injury or something keeping them limited.
Yes. Yeah.
That has been consistent.
Yeah. Hopefully they build a product around him that we can get to that past the second round this offseason. It's all on you. It's all on you, Daryl. We're watching you, buddy.
Yep.
But all right, guys. Well, that does it for us. We hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We will see you guys next Friday as we discuss potentially maybe some of the guys we are retaining on our squad. Well, I guess we'll find out. But by that point, actually, if the Mavericks push it to 7, then we'll probably won't be talking about that next week. But I doubt that's going to happen.
7, yeah. And it'll be the last show before the draft, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's true. We got draft night coming up.
Draft trade preview.
Yeah. Exciting times, guys. Exciting times. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We'll see you guys next week. See you, fellas.
All right, take it easy.